Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. My name is James Jimmy Hills. I'm your host of Java with Jimmy. We're here this evening with a sub brand of Java with Jimmy called Java After Dark. For those of you that don't know, we're live this evening and we're talking about Boston politics because the candidate that came in second the other night with a 48-point deficit, 71.1 for Michelle Wu and 23.3 for Josh Kraft, that candidate has suspended his campaign. And so with that being said, there are a lot of questions. I have two people that are and I've used this term, political operative, strategists, door knockers, campaign, founders of Mass Vote, union cutter, field experience. We have two people that are coming into the room to give some commentary just about what it is we need to focus on. Now, there's an at-large race as well. I shared with you all the last couple of days about the strategy that I see that those that don't move toward equity like we do are trying to employ to be a counter or a sense of checks and balances to the mayor. So enough of my commentary. I would like to bring in Malia Lazu of the Lazu Group and also Calvin Feliciano. And Calvin is a consultant. What's the name of your company, Calvin?
Just a political operative, no company.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. So, Malia, you're stuck here with us, two testosterone holders. You're our only queen in the building. So, of course, we're going to start with you. Please greet the audience and describe your reaction to the news that you got this evening in one word. And we'll come back and do the same for Calvin and then get context. So, introduce yourself in one word for how you responded to the news.
So, hello, Malia Lazu, organizer, political operative. My word is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Okay. Calvin?
Calvin Feliciano, political operative. And my word, if it can be one, is stop playing.
That's two. But okay. I will go back to Malia.
And by the way, we were together, Jimmy,
when
we heard this news. And so, to be with folk like, Calvin's done a lot of campaigns. I did a lot of campaigns back in my day. And I've never seen this. Someone win a general, beat two other candidates, and then just decide to tell their supporters, nah, I'm out. So it was really nice to be with someone else who sort of understood this, just how shocking this was.
It's unbelievable and it's unprecedented. And I don't say that with any shade. And we'll get into a little bit. And Calvin, I don't know if you know, Malia, if you had a chance to do the research yet, but we are going to share because the number one question is, does Mingo automatically move up? And so Calvin, Malia, you gave us some context for unbelievable. Calvin, you said stop playing. What is the context of your two words?
Man, I honestly, aside from the politics, I think it is absolutely shameful for Josh Kraft to be exiting the race, running in the prelim, and then coming in so under. So you got it sort of so wrong, right? Like you made so many mistakes, but then almost 30,000 people voted for you. People donated their time for you. I know and respect some people who helped you, who donated their time for you, and you couldn't show the respect of finishing a race. That is unbelievable. That when I heard it, when Malia said we were driving, when she said it, I'm like, stop playing. That was
yeah, no, totally.
Stop playing. No, he didn't.
We were like, no way.
So I have to publicly apologize to my mother. My mother texted me and said Kraft is out. So here I am. It's my mom. I'm like, okay, mom might have saw something. I saw a story that he stepped down from the Patriots a few months ago. I'm looking at dates and I'm like, and then bang, my phone started. A couple of folks that was with the mayor and all of that, and so he did suspend his campaign. And if you two don't mind, I just want to update the community and let them know I don't have the chapter, but the number one question is, does Mingo automatically move up to be a contender to the mayor? And the answer, based on this section 13 withdrawal, and this is from state law, not the city charter, my understanding is there is nothing in the charter that speaks to this because it was never expected to happen. So that is the unprecedentedness, if you will. And so Section 13, a person nominated as a candidate for any state, city, or town office may withdraw his name from nomination, his or her, this is old law, their name from nomination by a request signed and duly acknowledged by them before a notary public and filed with the officer with whom the nomination was filed within the time prescribed by Section 11 for filing objections to certificates of nomination and nomination papers and such no requests. I'm going to skip down to the part that is so important. Unless otherwise provided by the city or town. To my point that there's nothing in the charter right now that speaks to this. So unless otherwise provided by the city or town charter, such nominee shall be replaced by the candidate with the next highest number of votes, said preliminary. If such candidate receives a number of votes that at least equal to the number of signatures required by law to place their name on a preliminary election ballot. So what that means is, and
although Mingos didn't get he didn't get the 3,000.
So
neither one of
so
them
he can't be on the ballot.
He can't be. So the update for the community is.
But also, if Kraft dropped out, maybe Mingo would have gotten more, right? Like
So
part of what's frustrating here.
Yep, go ahead, Malia.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yep. Part of what's frustrating is like, yes, like, okay, let's read, state law, and none of that would have needed to happen. He saw the cards 3-4 days before the election. When you run an election, you identify your voters. So that's why when you get these calls, when people are like, hi, can I count on you to vote for so-and-so? So you go into election day knowing we have 35,000 yeses, we have 10,000 maybes, and we have 5,000 undecided. And you try to get those 35,000 to the fire stations and right to all the places to vote. And so going into the election what kind of numbers you have if you're running an actual campaign. And, maybe because I just watched too much Drag Race and I just watched too much American Top Model, but like people fight to be there. So if you're going to just drop out, like Calvin said, like you have people like, especially with how negative he was. And I actually have a quote that I want to come to eventually from him, from his, what he said about dropping out. But, this idea that you can cause this much disruption and then not see it through, not understanding that like Domingo, I mean, I don't know if he would have, but maybe someone, I mean, Tom O'Brien, I think did want to run, right? And didn't run because Josh Kraft was in the race, right? The Globe took Kraft very seriously because he was rich, not because he knew how to run a race, not because he had, like the winning issues, right? But because he was rich. And so all these folks took bets for someone who had a glass chin, who couldn't take a punch.
So Calvin, to that point, so let's level set. And I kind of wanted to start it off by this one, sincerely, but two, the trolls talk about all the other stuff. So make sure you include this. We have to, up until the handwriting on the wall. And Calvin, if you could talk a little bit about the semantics of this, of creating the field to which Malia referred. Any person, any human being that steps up to run for a political office, to some extent, it does take courage. It does take, a willingness and a sacrifice. And so we want to generally respect every candidate that stepped up to do that. And with that, you create hope. You create people that invest in you money and time. And so, Calvin, if you could tell for us a little bit, the handwriting was on the wall to which Malia referred. But if you could give us sort of a layman's perspective of how the handwriting was there and any commentary you want to give about perspective when the handwriting was there. Go ahead.
It looked, I ain't gonna lie, it looked like a disaster from the beginning, if I'm being honest. We all were looking to see how the campaign was gonna flow, like what was the strategy, what were they gonna do? When they did the joint at Prince Hall, everyone said like, wow, he's betting big that he can split the Black community from Michelle. This is a big bet. You come into Prince Hall with that? Okay. But then we saw the grouping, and I remember telling people, what an odd grouping of people. I mean, I don't want to disrespect nobody, but there was so many people in the room that were oddly problematic in their own places, and you
together
group.
as a conglomerate.
I remember being like, why am I looking at the former police commissioner and like unstable local activists? Like, why am I looking at this group? It just was so strange. And I remember telling someone on the Kraft side, like, yo, if Michelle had a black event at Prince Hall, it's gonna be star-studded, right? Like, we're pulling out the neighborhood, baby, for that. And when I looked at this hodgepodge group, it just was like, oh, this is strange. And then it never seemed to get on its footing. Like, the campaign has sort of seemed, honestly, with all due respect to people involved, I know most of them, it seemed poorly. It's just like, sometimes this happens. You make a plan, the plan from day one does not go well. Never goes well. Never. The snowball, I have this theory that I talk with people about snowballing campaigns. You got to build it. And sometimes if you don't catch the roll, you didn't catch the roll. Your snowball's never going to emerge, buddy. And so that is what this seemed like. It seemed embarrassing. But what hurt me is that from the beginning of the year, I've been telling so many of my friends in the bean, please don't let this disrupt us. Please don't let it separate us. Don't be disrespecting people over this. These people are fine. I literally told people, Michelle lost, she'd be Harvard president, should be in D.C. doing something. If this man lose, he might go right back to Brookline, $10 million mansion. This is a billionaire. Neither of these people are going to be in bad shape if they lose. Don't have them have us beefing because we got to live here. We're dealing with this. We're in community together. If Ayanna Pressley says I'm running for Senate next year, we're all on board. If she says I'm running for president in 2 years, we're on board together. So we have a lot of shared interests. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's real. And, so
and we're community first.
Right. Say that again, Malia. We're community first.
And like, to see that get so disrupted and people be so disrespectful, beef it, activist beef, political beef, to see all that happen and then you don't come back after halftime. Can you imagine a football team that was like, hey, man, it's halftime. It's like 40-0. We shouldn't even finish this. Are you joking?
Right, I'm not going to come out of the locker room. I'm just going to jump in my Ferrari and go.
Are you joking? Are you playing around, man? Stop playing, man.
And that goes back to your word in context. And so to hear you all put it in a very layman term like that you were in, and you know, Boston is a sports city, so we get it easily. Imagine the Celtics, hardly ever, but being down and then, what's his name? Muzo, what's his name? Joe Mazzulo, the coach, to say we're not, to Malia, to your point, you're not coming out.
Well, it's like, right, like after Kyrie Irving got injured, if everyone's like, oh, well, we're not showing up to the next game, right? Like, you don't. And I want to say something else because I think what Calvin brings up is our lesson for this moment, right? Besides just run. If you want to run, just run, right? Don't wait because someone else is running. But I think the other thing that Calvin brings up that's so important is we all will work where we work. We will support the candidates we support. But at the end of the day, loving Black people, loving each other, right? We're the ones in Roxbury, you know, like I'm right by New Street, right? Yeah. Like if something needs to go down, I'm running to Jimmy's house and we're driving to Calvin's, right? Like that's our Underground Railroad, right? And I think to allow someone, because he's paying people, and not even big money, you know what I mean? Not like life-changing money, but because he's paying people, it's a shame that people took the money on both sides, right? Like, and fought each other. And I think, you know I started jumping back into this because I was really bothered by that. You know, I was bothered by people who I know have big visions and love Black people talking about the biggest issue is bike lanes, the biggest issue, you know, and it's just like, wait a second, like, let's make both of these candidates have a Black agenda.
But Malia, and it gets interesting. This is something we can park a lot to a later date, but we got to go to them with the Black agenda. And I am not aware of the masses sign off in that. A couple of things I wanted to go back on that you all said. Calvin, you talked about, oh, Malia, what you just mentioned was, let's be honest. Hopefully, seeing how some severance packages and things have went with those that left, the campaign already, we got to talk about the financial impact on the people that were employed by the campaign. Like technically, once you suspend the campaign, OCPF may have some rules. You got to shut it down. People may have been relying on that paycheck for the next,
Yeah, but you know what's frustrating about the whole candidacy, and I can speak more on it now that it's over. I never wanted to trigger the crew that I have that's on that side. But like what's embarrassing is that it just doesn't feel like it ever meant anything to him. And that's to the point. If you know him from 20 years and y'all been doing this Y stuff or Boys and Girls Club stuff, and he been rocking with you and funding it, I respect that. If you've been doing this criminal justice thing with this dude, I respect that. But it just really feels like this was just a thing that a billionaire tried. I live in Brooklyn. I'm going to go to the Bean, see if I take over. At the end of the day, I don't even care. What? We're that far behind. I'm off this. I'm about to go to Fiji for 3 weeks. He's a billionaire who doesn't care. So honestly, it's probably great for them because he'll probably pay them the 3 months and walk away from it. I've seen, you know what I mean? I bet he will do that.
He better pay them the 3 months.
He better. He
better pay them the 3 months, you know?
Here's the thing I wanted to say, and Calvin and Malia, you may be surprised to hear me say this in this context, that, Calvin, I know the thing, a billionaire doesn't care. Earlier on the show today, someone had put a comment about someone not caring, and I was talking about the hope in me just won't let me believe that they don't really care. Similar in fairness to what some Black folks have said about Michelle, that she doesn't care about Black people. So my thing there is I share the sentiment of there just wasn't an exuberance and an energy that, right, wrong, or indifferent, Boston politics, you got to come with, and it's no disrespect to people being their authentic self, but there was never that fire, Calvin, that I experienced. And I wanted to also say, to a point you all made earlier that made me think about this, is there was a point, and I said it on the show a few weeks ago, as a strategist, away from the person and who I'm with, I started to feel bad for Josh. As you all, Malia, you smiled, Calvin smiled after, but was a little stoic. And because listen, you're paying all this money and all these people, and there was never nothing that we seemed, and now it's evident that there was no ROI. I don't do.
But that's his fault. I mean, if anyone should know about ROI, is someone whose daddy won capitalism. And so like I think that's something important. But so anyway, but someone needs to have empathy, Jimmy. So I'm glad.
I did. Look, to Uncle Thaddeus's point, this documented, as Felicia Rashad said.
Right. Stop lying.
I said, no, I did. I said it. I did as a strategist. I did. Because of the people around him, like, what are you?
Well, so this is why I don't feel bad for him, because I'm about to read a quote.
Well, not him, but a candidate. I felt bad for.
But you felt bad for one who would do this, right? But I just want to read this to you, and this is the AP. Okay, I actually let me put the link in the chat right now for you. So
okay, and I'll share it to
with anyone who wants to read it, and we can all read along. Like we are back in school. But Kraft told supporters in a letter provided to the Associated Press that the election had never been about him or Wu. We could spend the next 8 weeks politicking with harmful rhetoric or nasty attack ads, or we could get back to what really matters, the issues that impact Bostonians each and every day, the work I have focused on in my whole career. Who turned this campaign negative? Who was punching this woman in the face every day? And so the fact that he thinks that campaigns are either negative or he has to leave them to do the work of the people lets you know how inadequate he has of understanding what a campaign is about, the issues. But he chose to be negative, and he allowed his amplifiers and his ambassadors to be negative. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. Is like, all of a sudden, well, it shouldn't be negative. Dude, you couldn't stop punching her in the face.
So,
by the way, a bunch of people have have come out of prelims on a city level, and they have been very lopsided, and they continued. And I think about the one that jumps out to me is D7, because this has happened again and again and again in the D7, right? When Tanya was up in there, she came out way in front, and people still ran their race. When it was Kim Janey smoked everybody, and you know
And
what?
people,
Rufus still stayed in that race and finished that race off. When Cornell ran against Tito in that open seat, Tito got like 79%, and it was wild, right? Cornell got like 9%, stayed and went into the general, right? When Carlos ran against Chuck, it's actually happened in almost every D7 race where someone is running away with it after the prelim, and then the person who put their neck on the line all summer, that's been working on it, have people volunteering their time for you, finished it off with respect on behalf of the hood. Because you know what? It is bigger than me and her. It's on behalf of the hood. And you walked away from it in the middle of it. You just won the thing and you walked away. This is unbelievable.
and if you understood politics and strategy, with all due respect to Domingo, if there was a way, if Mingo ran as an independent and the charter was set up, that Mingo would have went to, general, whatever the numbers say, and whatever, Mingo would have stayed. If you were really concerned about the issues, as you're talking, Calvin, I'm thinking about this, you would have stayed. I said earlier today, the best commitment of a candidate, or to weigh their commitment, is when the candidacy is over, if they don't win. Are you still going to be making noise about Mass and Cass? Are you still going to be talking about bike lanes? Are you still going to talk about White Stadium? Are you still going to talk about all of that? I want to say this other thing now. Shut up. A lot of the issues that was raised away from White Stadium and bike lanes and whatnot were very active in administrations pre-Mayor Wu. With the exception of Kim Janey ascending because of her city council presidency, there isn't that much of a difference of Marty Walsh's issues, along with mass and caste violence and things like that, and Mayor Wu's. Why didn't you run against the white man? Malia, I want to ask you something specifically as a woman. A lot of this has come up about Michelle shouldn't have went to DC because that brought fire on us. And I've often thought about the fact that, and I've been talking about a lot about the racism, but we haven't talked a lot about the male-female dynamic that is a part of this. When you talk, I think Calvin said punching, or you said come out punching every day and whatnot. From a perspective, if you don't mind, from a woman, there was some rigor that we've seen in this, but do you feel that she had to exude a different rigor because she's a woman running against a man?
Well, let me say this, all women candidates, right? Like when I used to run campaigns and we would do polling, I would always do the 10% rate, the 10% sexism or racism gap in the poll, right? People are going to say they vote for a woman, but when they get down to it, they won't. And unfortunately, that's not only men, right? We saw 47% of white women,
Yep.
only 47% of white women voted for Kamala. So versus 92% of black women. So, I think this idea of who you're comfortable leading for men and women because of patriarchy, I'm more comfortable with a man leading, especially a rich man, he must know something. But I want to say this about, so often when we talk about, microaggressions or biases, right? It's really about who can get away with what. And, Michelle would have to be a perfect mayor, right? Like even people talking about the low voter turnout, like Calvin and I were talking about this earlier, like low voter turnout happens in local primary elections. Mayor Menino got a lot of low voter turnout. No one really talked about that, right? West Roxbury obviously didn't vote for this guy, right? Like, because the if West Roxbury turned out 70%, right? There may have been again, I don't know the numbers, but so I
Hold
think
on, I can tell you a couple of numbers now. I talked to Carlos earlier, so we both got that 75-page PDF. 12, Calvin, these 12, 14, basically Blue Hill Ave up to Mattapan Square, they all voted for Mayor Wu.
Right. And so I think, but this idea that men get a lot more generosity of interpretation than women do, right? men can mess up, right? Men can have locker room talk and rah, 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 right? And women have to show up in a different way, And so I think whether it's Michelle or any other, Julia Mejia, Ruth Z, right? Any other woman, there's definitely going to be people are quicker to critique, right? Men just get more generosity of interpretation. And so I think that that's something that Michelle is seeing. But also, and I don't know, Calvin, what do you think? I think these folks just took his money. There's no way that you had 3.5 million and you got 30,000. I mean, what do you think, Calvin? You think they actually had a field? Like, you think they had a campaign plan, a
It was
thermometer talking about how many votes we get?
Not a good one. They probably had the little thermometer, but it wasn't a good. It didn't seem like a good message. It didn't seem like good strategy. It was shocking. But here's the interesting thing: to the people who talk about like turnout and stuff, right? And we're talking about this election. We just saw almost 95,000 people. A comparable election, people say 2021, but that's not a comparable election because that was an open seat. This is not open. This is when a mayor is challenged that's an incumbent. So you'd have to look at, to be apples to apples, you'd have to look at 2017, which was Tito coming at Marty. You'd have to look at 2009 when Sam Yoon and Mike Flaherty did the whole Flume thing and went after Menino. And in both of those, this smashed that. In Menino's case, it was like 81 racks, 81,000 in 2009. In 2017, it was 55. That was one of the sleepiest elections. No one was like, Marty's illegitimate. To Malia's point, no one was like, Marty's illegitimate. No, he got to get a 55,000 election and smoke it, right? And that was fine. This one was almost 95. So this one was actually higher than the two that are comparable. But then people just have in their mind to want to disrespect voters, especially voters of color, which, like Malia just said, voting's exclusive. No one votes. When you see 15% vote, here's what that means. 10% of Black and Latino folks, 20% of white folks. 80% of they didn't vote. So why don't shame them? You don't hear people being like more white people.
No,
voted. You don't ever hear that.
When I break down that 75, I'm spending some time this weekend. When I figure out how to break down that 75-page thing and look at the voter percentages over in 7, part of 8 over that South Neponset, West Roxbury, Rosendale area, presumably, there's going to be low percentages there. So we cannot, as Black folks, always take we do need to vote more. Everybody does. But it's not just going to be a narrative that Black folks just didn't vote. No, the electorate in the entire city. And this morning, you all get this. I said, let's give 20% to people that just couldn't. Babysitting, 3 jobs. Let's just give a gracious, wild number. That puts us at 20 participant, 20 that couldn't. The 60% with all this stuff about woo-woo gotta go and you didn't, and on the other side with Mingo, if Mingo had got about 600 more votes, Mingo would be running against Mayor Michelle Wu right now.
Right. And think about the difference in conversation
that would happen between a Mingo and a, come on, Malia, sorry.
Right. Think about what a different conversation that would be, and this is the problem with white privilege and white supremacy, right? Is that they're allowed to do what they want, right? Like, oh, I'm going to be mayor and da-da-da. And everyone takes them seriously and they get all the generosity of interpretation, even though the dude doesn't know how to run a field. But all of a sudden, well, maybe you don't need to turn out voters now to win a race, right? Like all of this crazy stuff happens. And I think, what the conversation we need to have here in Boston, and maybe other gateway cities are having it, and maybe we also, we all just need to get together, is how do we reckon with this old power structure that sits within the system, right? So you have people, right? Like Josh Kraft is a perfect example where, for the city of Boston could have told you they weren't into Kraft. Right? The first poll was 30. The second poll is 50. Right? Yet the last Black debate doesn't even let the Black person in. Right? And this is what I mean about how we too accept the white privilege and the white supremacy of it all. Right? Like we had black people thinking like, oh no, it's best that we just put the white man up again, like not being like, let's just bring him in. It's a mayor's race. Only 100,000 people are going to vote. Let's just do it. Right. So we take this stuff so seriously. And I just really hope that we can understand that in these cities, we're fighting these power structures that don't have the legs, but they have the systems. And we should not take that seriously anymore.
To your point, you said they don't have the legs, but they have the system. We, Lawrence Brown, who's in here right now, talked about, and others, our vote, Josh and Michelle knew there was no way, and from back to Menino, and I think maybe Kevin White may be the last person that, or someone that may have not been concerned about the black vote. Everyone since him understands and knows, and Calvin and Malia, you mass vote's been around. You don't win a mayoral election in this city without going through the black voter block. You don't. And so to your point about NBC, and Mingo literally just texted me now. People were talking. So a couple of things. Mingo, I feel, should have been included in that debate. I don't know where the final decision came from, but I shared this with leadership of both, entities as the only black man. Anyway, the other thing, Malia, that you said was that privilege piece is what I said to someone. I put a post up and I said, Josh Kraft dropped, and I said, thank you. And what I meant, maybe I should have gave more context. And what I meant was, again, you would have put a stake in the ground around this white privilege entitled, I'm still gonna, if you went to the general and then still got beat by 50-50, because the general would have bought out more numbers. Am I right in predicting, Malia and Calvin, jump in here, that the gap may have been just a little bit wider in a general because more people presumably may have come out to vote? And that would have
trends could have continued, though. I mean, you could have honestly continued the same trends. In fact, I think some people, I think it would have widened a little bit because some people would have looked at that poor showing and been like, oh man, let me get into power with the mayor. Because that's the thing. People act like we suck it up to the mayor. Fam, I took on Marty. I took on Menino. God bless him. God bless his soul. But I done been on sides. We went after the mayor. A lot of y'all shook out here. Let's not play that game.
I was going to say, I know who didn't stand with me when Mayor Menino blacklisted me in this city.
I was about to say, like, we done been on that list. Jimmy, you know that. You know I wasn't scared to call out the dog, and that was the kid.
Stop, because Carlos called out Calvin. I know you heard about the incident where Carlos left a Flaherty sign on my car.
Oh, that's funny.
Never mind. So yeah, it Malia, to your point, and we can get, because I told these folks I would only keep them for a half an hour. What is it going to take? Malia, I'll ask you to close us out. Calvin, if you could tell us, I don't know if you were in the meeting in 13, if you were still, heavily active in Boston. In 2013, Kevin Peterson called that meeting to kind of, we found out.
You should stop right there when Kevin Peterson called that meeting.
I was like, let me sip my wine.
Yo, stop playing.
Get your vape out, Calvin.
No. Listen. At the end of that meeting, listen, in all seriousness, at the end of that meeting, Mary Armour White Hammond had to literally grab my pants and sit down. I found out the disingenuousness. It was called as a coalescing, and then at the end, he pulls out a Excel sheet talking about Charlotte got the biggest numbers, and it was a meeting to try to get everybody to coalesce around Charlotte. Since 2013, I have seen this, and God bless our ancestors, Mel King and Sarah Ann Shaw. They were going to be our Yodas in because there was a respect, and they could bring everybody together. I don't know if that's out there now, so I'll get to my question. Calvin, what is it going to take to get from, you can call it a black agenda, you can call it putting legs and run out the system, to Malia's point, because we got the legs, we got the numbers. What we had Trump 1, we had a pandemic, we got Trump 2. What is it going to take?
I think part of it, one big thing, honestly, will be when we're able to just have conversations with each other without getting disrespectful. Because people think of the Trump voter as like a 60-year-old Medicaid dude, barely mobile from Alabama. And in fact, he went up with Black and Latino voters, including all over Massachusetts, including all over cities. And the truth is, so if we can't get to a place where we cannot disrespect each other, we can start to talk about candidates and who do you think and why do you think, I don't really like that, and until we can do that, that's a huge one for us, because everything is, I have a group chat with a bunch of friends, and one of my friends came out for Trump on some wild, it seemed wild, right? Like whatever, we were all mad. And then everyone on the group chat slandering him, you look stupid, you're dishonoring your ancestors, like wild and piling on him, right? It's like, did we move him? Did we change him at all? He just hardened. Then he was like, F y'all, like, you disrespecting me. So we have to be able to get to a place where we can have a conversation, where we can organize, where we can build on this and come up with a strategy. And it don't got to be all personal. And then we don't got to sell each other out or stab each other in the back out here tap dancing for white folks for money. We don't have to do that. And that's a huge one right there, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think that's right. And I also want to shout out, you know, that Calvin should be the one talking to the Trump supporters. I should not be. So that's right. Like
Calvin,
we all have roles, and I think that's important. But you know, I think Calvin's point is the only way forward, right? And I want to really emphasize that, because we've tried a whole bunch of other ways, and at the end of the day, if we don't love each other enough to invest in our interconnectedness and see civics as a part of the tools that we use to empower our community, we will always be up for the bamboozle. We will always be up for the bamboozle. We need to come together as a community and love each other more than we love the people who want to take us down. And I think for Boston, that gets convoluted sometimes, because there seems to be a lot of acceptance for sellouts. And I think that it's just important for us to understand that, you know, the holding ourselves accountable as a community is part of how we love each other, right? You don't let your family take your grandma's jewelry and sell it because they wanted clothes, right? Like you have to be in community. You have to be accountable to one another, and to let, $8 grand, 10 grand, like to let small money like that move you so that you'll tell Black people to care more about bike lanes than rent control. You don't love Black people. Nothing about you loves Black people, right? And so until we can actually have those honest conversations, right? Until we cannot give white people awards for being woke, right? Like until we can actually find that backbone, I think it's going to be hard. And I think it's why we don't look like Chicago right now, even though we have 500 people sitting in Plymouth jail right now. It's why we don't look like LA, even though ICE has been rolling up all through this. And if you don't think all of this is just to get to the original fight, which is the original race war, y'all are crazy. So I'll just stop there and I'll just ditto what Calvin said.
I am going to do a little bit more commentary because I'm going to be nice to let y'all go. But Malia, that thing about the immigration and what the Supreme Court just decided and racial profiling, I get it. Some Wawa Calvin came up with this term called foundational African American or foundational Black American to help kind of name that,
it's a fun, very interesting name. That's a whole nother after dark.
A whole nother after dark. But my point is that
the boats get stopped between Virginia and South Carolina. We're the original slaves. They love us the best. If you are came up here to become Colin Powell, we're now not accepting you, even though we do accept you until we don't.
Facts.
But to the reason he was saying that is, and I think we both know this, is some of our Black and brown immigrant community, when you call them Black or whatever, they're not Black, and they'll ascribe to other parts of their. And so that's what he was talking about. There's a lot of chatter about that. And I don't see how people didn't see, because it's going to be active, that they start with the immigration because that's the easiest. You break down barriers via immigration, and now you can racial profile because Calvin, you look Latino. Jimmy, you look Cape Verdean. Kid, all of us on here, we look something. And so I think that is, and I would love to have y'all come back next month or something. We may have to look at something quarterly or whatever, but
Well, and if I can also just throw out, if folks want to check me out on IG, we're doing some trainings September 22nd around bystander training. So Jimmy, I'll also give you more, but while we're all talking, I
yes,
want to throw that out. We're working with Sam Montagna, Liz Miranda, just a few folks to get a training going. So y'all follow Jimmy or hit me up on IG. We should be having that flyer out in the next couple days.
I'll share it. There's some other stuff in the background I have to follow up on, some organizing being done for our immigrant community. And so to Calvin's point, that is a whole nother. I have somebody on Instagram, Malia said that they would love to be there. And so I'll make sure I post that.
Let's do something, Jimmy. Me and you, next year, maybe next year, or at least ahead of 25, 27. There's a little time. We also got to be running better campaign. Like, I want to volunteer to help Black and Brown candidates anchored in the Black and Brown community. By Brown, I mean urban Latino is what I mean by Brown, not shades of Black. But I want to help y'all run campaigns, right? Like, I don't like when people shame the voters. We just saw 8,000 people come out in District 7. 8,000 people came out. When Tanya won, when Kim Janey won in 2017 was a comparable election. That was 6,300. So this is a lot more than that. When Tanya won.
And don't blame the consumer for not buying the product.
That is real, Malia, but
folks are busy on Tuesday. You gonna give me some bullshit. What do I care? Bullshit A, bullshit B. I got to go to work. My baby's got to go to school. I'm on the train, which, by the way, doesn't run. You know what I'm saying? Like, so y'all go handle that. Whoever it is, I'm still going to be a single mom, overworked, underpaid, not da-da-da, not da-da-da. So y'all decide that for me. I got to get to work. Like, to me, it seems common sense that no one believes in our democracy. And I think we need to stop.
Malia, hold on. But that is such.
Other people believe
voting
in it.
is exclusive. Voting is exclusive.
Exactly.
White people
we're spending more and more money for less and less votes. Anyway, Jimmy,
because I want to make sure that they heard both of you, because I just, so to the point about not shaming voters and the consumer, I gave the 20% to the people that just can't.
But it might be 80% that sees the BS, Jimmy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, we're smart people. We deserve candidates who mean it.
Ed told us that we need to do one mic because we was in here going in, and I
Ed, just read the closed caption and I'll spell it out. Love you. Ed and I had a blast, by the way. Ed and I kayaked, so I want to shout out Ed.
Y'all kayaked?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't getting.
This is why you got to come to the vineyard, because we do white shit.
I love it.
I can't get in that boat. But no, I want to go to what Thaddeus said about both of us when Calvin said Black and Brown. And I was saying, Thaddeus said, all of you have a little like.
That's it. Give me my purse. Let me pass. Let me walk into the bakeries with my purse, to quote Frantz Fanon.
But Leah is. Oh God, I felt my face get hot.
Jimmy, this is why I loved going on your show, because this is how we talk. And I think like what's so important is we just spent this whole primary, right, with people having a different narrative in mainstream. And so, I know we're taking time, and we told only people 30 minutes, but just thank you for like letting, again, because Calvin and I were together when this came out. So like, just thank you so much for us to bring this kind of perspective to the audience. And I know I was just on last week and we went crazy then too, but I like coming on here and talking my trash.
We need it. And I think the more that because I can tell you my comments and texts and things, we talk about politics in a way that people can understand some of the system in which you speak, and they knowing is half the battle. So the more we motivate people to get involved and they hear the inequities, it might just produce another couple of folks to say, you know what, I got to get somebody to go get Keisha right after school, and I am going to do my best to try to plan so I can get out and vote. So there's the gracious. My thing here of late is grace and accountability. Grace and
That's it.
accountability.
And
Grace
start
in
with
public.
yourself, everybody listening. Give grace and to yourself. Give grace and space to yourself. You know, I think that's so important, Jimmy.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to end with a message for Malia from Annie Sheriff over on Instagram. She said kayaking is definitely white, Malia.
Listen, y'all don't have to let me. I have a white
But we
family.
know Annie. We and
Like,
Annie just
don't tell like I have a whole well, and actually, but my white is Italian, and so I will say they don't really kayak like that.
yeah.
But you know, being from Hawaii, and also if you go to other countries, Black people do swim. Like I was just in Puerto Rico and watching all those Black babies like jump off bridges and swim, and it's so beautiful to see. But you know, what are we gonna do? We all out here. What did Thaddeus say? With a little bit of a touch.
Put
We
a
got
little bit of
a touch.
Speaking of Thaddeus in touch, Malia, I hope you're coming out. Calvin, I know your way out. Don't forget Thaddeus has the Annie said, Malia, I do it all the time. Come out to Beverly. You two text each other.
Yeah, Annie, text me because I'll come out to the kayak with you.
Thaddeus is having Black Joy Day tomorrow. I believe it's the 6-1 tomorrow at the ICA. So, folks, while the tickets are still available, please go do that. But Malia and Calvin, I want to thank you as well, because I can't just do these conversations by myself. I can shout a Java all the time. But when we're conversing and you all spark stuff, I ask questions and people see some real-time realizations that happen with me. I think it just really we are literally changing society via these conversations. Cuff Ferguson talked about social construction, that everybody that listened to us tonight, and you two and me, anything that we talked about tonight, when we talk about it to the next person, it is now influenced by everything we said tonight. We are literally slowly but surely changing society. So we'll keep them going. This is why y'all got to support Black and community media. And I don't want to get into a rant. So Leah
support Jimmy, and let's stay together. Now, you know, next year, like I said, if next year if AP's making a move, we're all with her. So let's leave the space. Let this man run the Brookline. It's gonna be a great life, fam. You got a great life ahead of you, brother, Mr.
And
Billion.
you know what? And we don't need to give people, you know, let's have 24 hours of our little because we need that. But at the end of the day, some people might, you know, be again grace and accountability, right?
Yeah.
So how we figure that out and how they self-reflect, hopefully, right? But the last thing I want to say, and I want us to close out on this, there's still a race, you guys. We have Julia Mejia, we have Henry Santana, we have Ruth Z. Lejeune. We need to remember that it's not just the top of the ticket, that the way we build a pipeline to get more Domingos, to get more Ayanas, right? Ayana started in the city council.
She sure did.
So city council at large race is still here. And what we see is that, you know, our candidates need our support. So the mayor's race, fine, that's done, basta. But now we go and we support our city council at large and our local races.
And those three names that you named, and at some point we'll talk about block voting soon. So thank both of you for being here. Malia, thank you for everything that you've done for Mass Vote and still doing. Calvin, thank you for just the tutelage and from cutting turf and everything. And it just, we need all of these pieces together, including people. Miss Teresa said Malia cracks me up. And so don't let her get your logo, Malia. Then you're gonna wind up with sweatshirts and things. So anyway, thank you both for being here. I'm going to do paying some bills.
Calvin, it's always a pleasure, sir.
Epic day. Love you, Queen. Love you, Jimmy.
All right,
love you guys.
Malia. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. So, folks, please go and follow Malia and also Calvin as well, and stay up to date with what Malia talked about as far as the training that is happening. Just a couple of announcements. Mayor Wu will be with us on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Wait a minute. Hold on, let me check the time. The date was confirmed. This is why I don't be. Ooh. If you all understood the unsolicited stuff that comes in my phone, it is. Hold on. What did I go to my phone for? Shoot, I forgot. We'll get back to it or whatever. It was an announcement. Anyway, see, this is. Oh, the mayor's time is what I was confirming. 10. The mayor's going to keep her 10 a.m. time. Okay. Next Wednesday at 10 a.m., the mayor will be here. My sister, Fitted Crowns and Queen Nick. Thank my co-producers tonight, Fitted Crowns and Queen Nick, for reminding me that I was trying to get the thank you, Thaddeus, as well. Yo, y'all got my back for real. Ma is late. Hi, Ma. Ma, I said it earlier. I want to publicly apologize to you. I was going to call you. My mother texted me. My mother was the first. My mother was the first one. Kraft resigned. Huh? I'm on Twitter and all these other places and searching and whatnot. And my mother's like, I just seen it. I was like, well, I need to confirm it. Ma, I publicly apologize for not believing you on earlier today. Thank you so much. My mother was the first one that told me, believe it or not. So thank you, Ma. And thank you all for y'all got my back and let me know what I missed and what I was supposed to do. Nikki, she is. Mom was the one that texted me the other day and talked about ISIS here. So along with the mother's board, Mama Java is also a field correspondent. So thank you all for being. My mother said, "Yep." Thank you all for being here this evening. Good. Leave me alone, Milagro. That's it. We'll see you guys on Monday at 10 a.m. Well, let me just double check. As I mentioned this morning, Brother Jeff Gray passed away, and I just saw his arrangements, and the arrangements are, hold on for 1 second. The arrangements are as follows, and I will post this as well. Monday. Okay. So we will have a show Monday. The public viewing is from 2 to 4 at Floyd A. Williams Funeral Home. And then the celebration of life is going to be at Venencia's from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And this is going to be on this Monday, the 15th. And so we are really, you really went live for close to an hour over the announcement. Keys. Out of all people, not just me, Calvin Keys, if you're just coming in, Calvin Feliciano and Malia were here with me. So it wasn't just me for a whole hour. He said a whole hour. So anyway, getting back to Monday, 2 to 4 at Floyd Williams Funeral Home on Columbia Road, and then at Venencia's on Venencia's over near Neponset from 6 to 10 p.m. On Monday. So please keep the Gray family in prayer. Please continue to keep the Grace family in prayer as well. And that's it for me. We'll see you Monday at 10 a.m. And don't forget on Wednesday, the 17th at 10 a.m., Mayor Wu will be with us. Thank all of you for tuning in tonight. And remember, if you are not registered to vote, you have until October 25th to register to vote. The next election is May 4th. Oh, wait. There's still an election. Malia just said at large. There's still an election. I don't know if we still got to vote for Mayor Wu. I guess we do. So I don't know. I got to find that out. And so Lasagna, good night. Dina, thank you so much. I ain't gonna eat that much. It's a little bit late. And I got some grilled shrimp, and I had my first summer grilled hamburger today, thanks to brother Marv Neal. So I'm out of here. We'll see you guys Monday at 10 a.m. And don't forget Wednesday.